One of the biggest teams that I wanted to pay attention to and keep an eye on this coming season are the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, they had a very rocky regular season and never really bounced back to clean it up as they fell short again in the postseason, which has been a super consistent theme for them after making the finals back in 21. Their loss in the first round against the Timberwolves was rough to say the least, and it really wasn't that they lost that series, because I don't want to take any credit away from Minnesota because they were an amazing team, but it was the nature in which they lost. Long story short, they looked out of place, outmatched. There was a huge difference between the two teams as far as energy went. They just looked like they were a bit out of it that series. Now, I know what everybody's thinking, and Brad Beal said it the other day in an interview. Things 100% would have looked different if that roster was healthy the entire way through. Regardless of what you think, there is a lot of truth to this. The issue with trying to make a team like Phoenix work is that if you're going to have 3-star level players like Beal, Durant, and Booker, you have to figure out a way to make each of them fit. They each have to be slotted into roles that create a net benefit for the entire team. It's not enough to have 3 elite offensive players. The question is, how do you fit those pieces in with each other to optimize team performance? Obviously, that is tough to do if guys were not available to play with each other the entire season, or at least for a healthy amount of the season. But on a more positive note, moving from last season into where we are now, I actually like what I've seen from the Suns so far in the preseason. Again, I know this is extremely limited action and it's just the preseason, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and overreact, but you can't lie. The signs have been pretty good. For one, I said this before during the summer, Tyus Jones being on the roster is a godsend. The biggest critique for them last season was that there were no real playmakers out there to balance out the offense, which is key for a team with such a surplus of scorers. And in limited action, we've seen Jones do a good job at keeping the offense organized and pretty mature looking at times. He's one of the best in the league when it comes to assist to turnover ratio, and that's showing off with how organized the Suns offense is looking so far here. This is a very specific clip, but I just love what Jones does here. Looks like he's in trouble in the corner, but he patiently waits for this empty side ball screen to get set, rejects it to drive baseline, and sets up an easy look in the middle to the roll man after tracking 2 defenders. Also, Phoenix as a whole, and again, this is very limited action, but their ball movement has been pretty impressive. Checking out this clips here, it looks like they put a lot of emphasis on keeping the ball swinging, making the defense rotate, and making those one more passes to turn decent looks into great looks. And I can't help but notice the sets also look really good. Kind of like the Lakers, the Suns seem to be embracing a bit more off-ball movement. Getting this many talented scorers in motion is an absolute nightmare for an opposing team's defense to try to cover. And can I also say this? I'm impressed that Kevin Durant still does not look like he's lost a single step. He and LeBron are so unique because I really do not look at them play at any point and think that they lost a step or that they aren't quote unquote playing like their old selves. With KD, that's such a weird thing because he has been absolutely riddled with injuries over his entire career, but whenever he gets back on the court, he's still Kevin Durant. There is no massive decline in his game and his production. Given that there is a lot more motion and off-ball movement in this Budenholzer offense, the hope is that KD can continue to stay healthy enough for Phoenix to get to that championship contention level. But seeing KD still moving like this is super impressive. And changing gears a bit here, I'm pretty interested to see what this Ryan Dunn thing ends up turning into for the Suns. Suns fans were going crazy over him on Twitter the other day, and he did look amazing, especially with his shooting. So I'm very interested to see how much younger guys are going to be regular rotational pieces for this team. That's a similar question with the Lakers, right? They've got some great young guys on the roster like Dalton Connect, like Jalen Hood-Schifino, and also Max Christie. Question is, how often is Coach Reddick going to utilize them? Same question goes here for Coach Budenholzer. How much are younger guys and players like Dunn going to be a part of the rotation in a situation where they're trying to contend? So again, it's early, but Suns fans have to be happy with some of these early signs they're seeing from this team. Things are obviously going to look different as they face off against real comp over time, but the flags are generally green at this point for Phoenix. No matter what way you look at it, this is a big season for the Suns. Them and the Bucks are like in that same boat of where the talent is there, but they have yet to prove that they are legitimate championship contenders in their conferences. But again, so far it's so early, but the signs are looking pretty positive here for Phoenix.